Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here, and welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Battle Chronicle video. And today we are here to have an open and frank discussion about the current state of Danmachi Battle Chronicle from a business and revenue perspective. We've spoken about the game's state in various videos, more specifically and more recently in the director's letter reaction, of course, talking about the current state of the game and, of course, where it stands and where it goes from here. But now we have to take a look at it from a revenue perspective, because just like every other month, at the start of every other month, we get a Sensor Tower monthly revenue report on the Gacha Gaming subreddit. And of course, said report contains information about Danmachi Battle Chronicle's revenue on mobile devices. Now, of course, this is something that a lot of people have been discussing every single month, because the numbers obviously don't look amazing and it's just getting worse and worse and worse, with this month seemingly probably the worst amongst all the months. And obviously a lot of people are either concerned that the game is going to end of service, or B, we're probably going to see the global side being cut away because of the cutting costs, managing cost side of things. They could see them, potentially stopping the services for the global version of the game, which is not impossible either, right? So let's break it all down. I wanted to make this an open and frank discussion, and I want you guys to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below once you're done watching the entirety of this video, because this discussion is very nuanced. It's not a topic that can immediately, be shown in a complete picture by just saying the number is bad equals bad situation. No. In this case, especially, right, when it comes to Danmachi Battle Chronicle, there's so many more factors to consider, first and foremost. And second of all, there are some things that you need to know about these monthly revenue reports that need to be, discussed in more detail so that you get an idea on exactly what the situation is. Furthermore, I want to give you guys my thoughts as well on this entire situation and give you guys my verdict on what might happen with the game, knowing the current state of the game on a revenue perspective, or from a revenue perspective and from a business standpoint. If I was a business owner, if I was Aiming Inc., or if I was SB Creative more specifically, SB Creative is the production committee behind Danmachi, the people who make the decisions, the people who lend out the license for Danmachi. If I was them, what would I do? Now, of course, if you guys also going to enjoy this video, remember to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, but more importantly, I want to see what you guys have to say down below in the comment section. That is the most important thing for me in this video, seeing what you guys have to say in the comment section down below. Now, first and foremost, let's take a look at the number that they have generated this month, of course, or this past month in the gacha gaming scene, basically. So if we take a look at it from a region perspective, if we're taking a look at it from only, what did Japan do and what did it do in the rest of the world, right? Because, of course, that's how it's split up, the revenue for Danmachi Battle Chronicle on mobile. It's the JP version and then the global version, right? So, of course, you have your Genshin Impacts, you have your Fate Grand Orders, Uma Musume's, Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade, FF7 Ever Crisis, Atelier, SDSGC. Generally speaking, I think for the most part, outside of the top games, a lot of games saw a decline in sales in the last month, generally speaking, if you take a look at this. So it's nothing new necessarily. It's not like it's only Danmachi Battle Chronicle. A lot of gacha games are also facing the same situation where the revenue is going down. But the problem is the number for Danmachi Battle Chronicle, because on the Japanese version, they only made it $90,000, and on the global version, $50,000, to make a grand sum total globally across the world, a total of $140,000. Of course, better than One Punch Man clearly here, but very close to the bottom, very close to the bottom, of course, right? And understandably so, a lot of people are very concerned about this number. Now, the first thing I will say here is that you have to remember that this is mobile only. Now, while I do know and I do think that a majority of gacha gamers play on mobile, I feel like Danmachi Battle Chronicle is probably one of the first games where I would say it's kind of the opposite, because of how badly optimized the mobile version is, and along with the fact that we as a global community also have access to the JP client, which means that we have a way to get lower sales effectively, in the sense of like we get to have a lower spending requirement, in the sense of like the amount we're spending on the JP client is much lower than if we were to spend on mobile or even on the normal global PC client. So of course, first and foremost, I think a lot of us spend on PC more than we do spend on mobile. So obviously this number is only on mobile, so we can't really tell how big the number actually must be, or if it is any bigger than this number in the first place, right? We don't know the true revenue of Danmachi Battle Chronicle as a whole, because you obviously have the PC version, and of course with the recent launch of the PS4 PS5 version, you probably have people spending on there as well. So we don't know the actual revenue of Danmachi Battle Chronicle as a whole, including the PC and PS4 PS5 versions, because this number is only mobile. This number is only mobile. It says it right here, separate region revenue, mobile only. So keep that in mind, is that this is only for mobile devices, thus revenue report. We don't know how much, Danmachi Battle Chronicle is truly making when it comes to, of course, including the PC and PS4, PS5 versions, pretty much, right? So that's point number one in terms of exactly why we don't know if this number is real or not entirely. And then the or for the entirety of Danmachi Battle Chronicle, exactly, to be honest, is what I should be saying, because this number could be true. But the other reason why this number is actually probably understated as well is because there is something a lot of people actually missed on the Gacha Gaming subreddit. A couple of months ago, there was a games industry veteran. It's been verified by the moderators and the people running the Gacha Gaming subreddit. They have verified his identity. They have confirmed that he did work on a bunch of gacha games. He did work as a publisher for a bunch of gacha games on a global perspective. And one of the things that people asked immediately, the first thing people asked, and the top question in the comments here, is how accurate is Sensor Tower in estimating gacha revenue? Is it actually more or less from estimate? Sensor Tower always underreports for all of the gacha games listed. All of them are making more than what is listed. So that's the other thing you have to know about is, well, this number might not exactly be the right number. It's probably in the $250,000, maybe $300,000 range. Potentially, we don't know. We still don't know the complete, obviously, know-how of how much Aiming Geek is truly making with Danmachi Battle Chronicle. We don't know. But what we do know is that that Sensor Tower tends to underreport. It tends to underreport the estimations that it has for the revenue for these gacha games. And this can apply to any of these gacha games. They're probably making a little bit more than what they're actually making in terms of these numbers, of course, right? Which is crazy to say about games like Genshin and Honkai Star Rail that are already making like $100 million. But yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind. So with these 2 points, right, you would say that, well, okay, then maybe it's not all that bad, right, Gail? Based on what you're saying, surely that's not that bad, right? Well, no, because even if it is being underreported, and even if it is obviously not showing the entire picture of PC and PS4, PS5, and so on and so forth, there is still concern to be had nonetheless that, it is a downwards trend. Ever since the launch of the game, where the game made $3 million, which is insane amounts of money in 1 month, it's been down, and consistently going down and down and down. And that is a major concern. Even if the number isn't showing the entire picture, even if the number isn't, 100% accurate and it's underreported, it doesn't change the fact that even if it is just an estimation that consistently is showing you on a downward trend is not a good sign. And then furthermore, very recently, a couple of weeks ago, about a week ago actually, I should say, Aiming Inc. dropped their first quarter results, their investor report, basically. This is the report where they go over all the information about how their, games are doing, how their products are doing, how much money are they making a profit, a loss, are costs going up, costs going down, what's exactly happening, right? And the one thing that they said was that across the board, a majority of their gacha games are doing worse, with Eminence and Shadow doing okay, but not amazing either. It's doing like it's plateauing effectively as well. So obviously this has been a very bad last couple of months for Aiming Inc. as well, from a money perspective as well. But the craziest thing is, of course, the fact that, okay, Eminence in Shadow at least plateaued, but you're one of your other significant IPs that you made a product for, Danmachi Battle Chronicle, a very new product, of course, that you recently launched in the third quarter of 2023, technically, or second quarter, realistically speaking, is going down and down and down. That is cause for concern. That is a huge cause for concern. And I think, of course, the reason why they did the director's letter as well and everything was to obviously address this point as well, and to obviously start, pushing for change potentially and everything as well. Because the thing is, right, we are now approaching numbers based on at least what we have here, numbers that Danmemo was making even when it wasn't releasing that many units. Which is insane to say, it's insane to say that, based on these numbers that we have on Sensor Tower, these are the numbers Danmemo was getting in total across all their servers, across many more or less countries, I should say, or much more or less countries, and it's making the same amount of money, which is insane to say the least. And I mean, it must sting them as well, by the way. It must sting them that if we go over to the Danmachi Memoria Freese Twitter account, let me see, JP, where's the JP one? Let's see here. Is this the one? No, that's Ian. You know what, I'm gonna go to Minato's tweet. I'll go to Minato's tweet because it directly links it to there. He quote tweeted it. It must sting them that Danmemo's JP version, in its crowdfunding expansion, has already made 20 million yen just like that, basically, because of the community. I also supported a little bit. If you guys didn't know, I bought I backed one of those tiers, of course, as well, because of course I wanted to support the franchise. It's been there and done so much for me over the last few years, so I've done a little bit. But 20 million yen in the span of about a day, by the way, it only dropped yesterday. And it made $130,000 in a day, basically, because of how much people love that franchise, is absolutely insane. Now, of course, this is all crowdfunding. You're playing on people's emotions a little bit to make a purchase. But if you own one of the strongest IPs in Japan, because let's be real, maybe not globally, but Japan, Danmachi is a very popular IP. And the fact that the numbers are going down and down says a lot about how your game is to the people in Japan and to the people in the rest of the world as well, right? It tells a lot. Now, for me personally, Danmachi Battle Chronicle, and this is where I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the game right now, is there's so much potential with this game still. I still do believe that this game has potential. But the problem is, right, and this is something that actually somebody in my comment section said very aptly, right? It's come out at a time where making a mistake and making a series of mistakes is considered pretty much irreparable, right? You have to compare what the current market is compared to when Danmemo dropped, or even a game like Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle dropped back in the day, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018 even. You had games that you wouldn't even think about competing against nowadays because they're just so minuscule, and there wasn't just the names weren't there. I'll tell you this immediately. I'll tell you, out of the top 10 games, right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Out of the top 10 games, right, Genshin did not exist. Honkai did not exist. Love and Deep Space did not exist. Naruto Mobile, well, I'm gonna ignore that. FGO existed. Monster Strike existed. Nikkei didn't exist. So that's 4 games that didn't exist. AFK Journey didn't exist. Puzzle and Dragons did exist. P5X didn't exist. Dokkan Battle Summoners War existed. Ensemble Stars didn't exist back then. It only recently started in like 3-4 years ago, I think. Blue Archive didn't exist. Light and Night didn't exist. Arc Knights didn't exist. Hatsune Miku didn't exist. Reverse 1999 didn't exist. Heaven Burns Red, WFS's big seller, didn't exist. Uma Musume didn't exist. Legends did not exist until 2018. So you have so many of these games that did not exist effectively back then, and you can tell by the quality of majority of these games that the standard of gacha games have gone up massively. If Danmachi Battle Chronicle released back in 2017, 2018, I don't think we would have batted an eye. And honestly, a lot of people would probably still play the game just fine, I think. Personally, that is my 2 cents on that fact. And I think we would have also been more than willingly, we would have more than willingly given the time to the developers to make the fixes. However, in this era where new game after new game is coming out, at the end of May, we're going to be getting Wuthering Waves. June, July, we're probably going to be getting Zenless Zone Zero. Azure Lane is probably, Azure Lane's developers are, preparing the development and, of course, the drop of their Azure 3D game. Arknight's Enfield, another 3D open world game. We're just in a cutthroat gacha market right now where one mistake is impossible to make. And when you do make a mistake, it's GG, game over, sayonara, have fun, we'll never see you again, basically kind of mistake, unfortunately. And so, with that being said, do I think Danmachi Battle Chronicle is going to end of service? I don't think it will until the next fiscal year. And more importantly, I don't think it will until the new EOS gacha game comes out. Because if I'm SB Creative, I still see that it's making some form of money. What I am going to do, however, is potentially pull back a little bit, maybe put some more stress and, more pressure onto aiming to deliver, potentially. It's either one of those two things. You either pull the financial backing a little bit from the company, or you put more pressure on Aiming to deliver. It's one of these two things, because frankly speaking, Aiming has not been delivering. And I feel like SB Creative have realized this and are now just letting them ride its course and ride its, final time it has, or whatever little time it has, so that they can then focus on helping out EOS and Gree when the time comes. Because at the end of the day, this is one thing that also a lot of people discussed, and we actually had this discussion in the Discord, funnily enough, is that Danmachi is, has always supported Gree when it comes to the gacha gaming scene. Auraria Rhapsodia, Cross Astoria, Memoria Freese are all done by companies that are affiliated or linked to Gree in some way, shape, or form, or have been done by Gree themselves, right? Danmemo, WFS's parent studio, is Gree. Cross Story and Auraria Rhapsodia, I think, were done directly by Gree. The upcoming EOS gacha game is collaborated with Gree as well. So Gree has had an influence in almost every single gacha game that Danmachi has done, except for this one. So there might be a question of also trust as well, because of course, maybe they're not letting Aiming Inc. do everything they want, potentially, right? Maybe it's taking them more time to get approval of certain things, whereas Danmemo never really had to go through that problem because, of course, of their close affiliation with Omori Sensei when it came to writing stories, getting things approved, working with him just generally in terms of certain aspects of the game as well. So in that sense, they were way more connected with SB Creative and also Omori Sensei to let them do things that maybe Aiming Inc. can't do maybe on time. And hence why we have such a long duration between banners as well, which doesn't help at all, because most games, right, events last for at most 3 weeks, right? This event in Danmachi Battle Chronicle right now, the beloved Golden Time one, is about 5 weeks long, which is insane to think about. It's that long. It's one of the longest events it's had, and it's just, just there for so long, to the point where obviously it's not going to be able to generate any revenue in May, because one, the units are pretty crap, and two, nobody wants to, summon, because it's, they'd rather just save up for the next banner. And of course, by the time you save up for the next banner, because of how well they've improved the Selas income, people won't need to even spend for the wedding banner either. Now, of course, they have improved some of their bundles and stuff like that. You can buy a couple more of the ticket packs, saving you a little bit more money and so on and so forth. But still, it's just so weird, some of the decisions they've been making the events longer and so on and so forth. It's just been very detrimental to them more so than anything else. And yeah, unfortunately, it has resulted in obviously a negative and adverse effect on their revenue overall, or at least based on the estimates, right? So to give you guys my thoughts, right, overall, just to TLDR this entire video, right, and to give you guys my thoughts, obviously, while we can't rely entirely on Sensor Tower reports, and they don't show how much complete revenue the game is making, we need to have a serious discussion about the fact that it is a downward trend. It's a negative trend. Aiming Inc.'s own financial reports are suggesting that the game has gone down in sales for sure. I mean, it's pretty obvious that has been the case, right? And then on top of all of that, we need to talk about SB Creative and their patience with Aiming Inc., especially with the other Danmachi gacha game on the horizon, right? The one by EOS. whenever that comes out, does that mean curtains after that for Danmachi Battle Chronicle? Very much so. I do think so. And I've said this for a very long time. A lot of people say that, oh, Gale's not saying that it'll end of service. He's saying it'll not end of service. I've always said this. Danmachi Battle Chronicle reaching the end of service and actually lasting depends on two major things. One, its desire to improve and and the actions it takes in improving. And two, the new Danmachi gacha game. I think these two things matter way more than anything else. And the moment one of those things happen, right? Either, obviously the new gacha game releases and, absolutely cannibalizes the player base of Danmachi Battle Chronicle, it's done. And the other side, on the other side, the first point that I made in terms of improvements, if they actually don't do anything more so in that case, then it's a problem, because then, people's trust and people's patience will wear thin. It's already wearing thin for a lot of people. Like I've said, in a market like this where there are just better and better games releasing every single week, every single month even, people are going to get swayed towards those games, right? Why would they waste their time and money on a game that isn't seeing an improvement when you could be devoting that time to a better game, potentially, right? I absolutely understand that, and I agree to an extent. So it's going to be very interesting, of course, to see what happens over the next few months. I think it's going to be very fascinating, but I do believe, this is my personal opinion, I don't think the game will end of service until the next fiscal year, so maybe like May 2025, June 2025, just like Danmemo. And I think it'll also depend on when the new game releases. That's the biggest point to be had, I feel. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know if you guys agree with me or disagree with me, and let's have an open discussion about it all. Once again, appreciate all of y'all for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.